Hello, my name is Aaron Cavanagh and I'm the founder and editor-in-chief of Post-Burnout.com. Post-Burnout.com is a culture website dedicated to venerating burnt-out artists the world over. This is our website's podcast where we publish full-length recordings of our interviews, which are sometimes the unedited versions of our site's articles and at other times are exclusives. If you're a returning listener, thank you for coming back, and if this is your first time listening, thank you for checking us out. We hope you enjoy and consider subscribing, giving the episodes a thumbs up if you're on YouTube, or giving it a rating if you're anywhere else. It really helps us out. Thank you. Alright, in this edition of Post-Burnout.com interviews, Jimmie Byrne, the frontman of the Dublin rock band King Cara, discusses their recently released single Favourite Crusade, their upcoming launch gig at Anseo, Dublin on Thursday, the formation of the project, his background, their recent personnel reshuffle, how they balance this band with their other projects, and much more. King Cara will perform at Anseo on Camden Street this Thursday, May 1st. And normally I would link in the description to where you can buy tickets, but as Jimmie says in this interview, there are no tickets available online, so if you want to go to the show, turn up on Thursday at 8 o'clock and bring €5. Thank you and enjoy.
Hello?
Hey Jimmie, how's it going? Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you. Hello?
Perfect, there. Hey man, how's it going? Is it just
Hey,
gonna be us or are the others joining us or?
I think they might jump on if they
Alright,
can,
alright.
but it might
Well,
just be us. Yeah.
that's fine. I'll start. I'll start with a question I had specifically for you then, and then if the others join in, that's great. I know that for the other members of King Cara, they all play in different bands. Like for example, Picture Postcard, who I interviewed recently, as well as Raining in December and Pants on Fire. I was wondering though, for you, I couldn't find if you were attached to any other projects. So is King Cara your sole project, or are you playing with other people too?
Soul projects. Yeah. Just honestly, it's hard to find. It would be hard to find the time.
Yeah.
Just I'm
Well,
kind
the well the others managed. No, I'm joking.
of.
What's
I'm
your
terrible at
excuse?
managing my time.
No, dude,
Very
I'm the
bad at
same.
time management, honestly.
I'm not
But
even in a band, and like I'm already
yeah,
don't have the time for one.
I'm time for this one. But yeah, just with King Cara, like just doing like organizing things and social media, all that jazz.
Yeah.
Doing all that and then, trying to find, like I have multiple jobs on the go, trying to get stuff organized with that and whatever. It would be I think at one point I was in another band and then that just kind of died in the vine. And I did a few things in BIM, like for like one-off gigs, maybe stuff like that. But since I left BIM, this has been the solo thing.
Did you finish up or did you drop out?
We graduated.
Oh, cool.
I have dropped out of college, but not BIM. It was another one.
Never been. I would never do that.
Oh my, I never do it to BIM. No, after 4 years, dropping out by then would have been pointless.
Well, I've
But
talked to other artists who've gone to BIM, and it is a weird thing where it's like you start off kind of trying to meet people to make connections, either to form projects or to meet producers or whatever, like whatever you need in terms of just like getting a project up and running and um, as successful as it can be. And then a lot of people tend to make those connections when they're first or second year, and then it's like, well, I have 2 more years, so I continue until I finish the degree, or do I just kind of like leave now that I have what I needed from BIM? Was there ever flirtation on your side to kind of go, maybe I'll drop out, or
not
were you like,
really.
I want that diploma?
I think the fact that I dropped out for my first degree meant that I wanted to finish BIM, and also like so King Cara's been going on for about two years now. I want to say 2.5 years, maybe
I
two
have
and a half, 3.
2022 as a formation date.
Yeah, around then. But like this version of King Cara, let's say it coalesced last year.
Mhm.
So I didn't really have, if I'd left the year before, then there wouldn't have been anything really to build on. Like I wouldn't have been taking anything out of it really. So maybe if this version of King Cara was around the year before, maybe. Again, though, it is quite unlikely because, like, I mean, it's not like we didn't really pop, we didn't find fame and fortune within that year. So I mean, if a Fontaine's, I think the only way we've left would be if Fontaine's kind of situation happened, or I think
Yeah.
Murder Capital dropped out as well. Like a label found them. If that happened, then yeah.
Sure.
But like dropping out to just continue gigging in Dublin and
Yeah.
dropping singles and whatever, it wouldn't have been. I wouldn't have done that. No.
Well, I can't speak for Murder Capital, but I know with Fontaines in particular. I mean, they got very fortunate in terms of like getting in with kind of the big promoters, and that was a means to their success was actually getting like a bunch of like really important support slots in like some of the big venues in the cities and stuff like that, which obviously helped
Mm.
them to grow. I do think there is, yeah, I mean, in a lot of ways, I think there is kind of an arbitrary nature to who kind of gets successful within the scene and who doesn't, because sometimes it's kind of like, equal amount of talent in terms of songwriting, in terms of like how tight the band is and all these different factors. But then there are just so many different arbitrary factors in terms of like who gets heard and who gets seen. And even like, I think like a lot of radio stations and a lot of publications now are kind of giving newer bands kind of exposure in a way that I don't think really existed at one point. But I still think, man, like those support slots are kind of where it's at. Like if you can get in with the MCD and Aiken and stuff, that's where you be kind of golden, you know?
Oh yeah, definitely. Because I mean, if you do, it definitely is, and that way you reach an audience that you wouldn't have reached initially from those bigger acts. I mean, piggybacking off them.
Mhm.
But yeah, I mean, there is a lot of luck involved. I mean, we can boil down all the outside factors to luck, maybe. Um, I mean, definitely Fontaine's knew what. I mean, Fontaine's had the full, like they were kind of. I don't know a great deal about the early history of them, but just what I can gather, they had the full look down at the start. They knew they had the voice down at the start, and like they've been consistently. They haven't been the same band, but they've been consistently. There's been consistent themes running through all their work from the early days. Whereas a lot of bands, like I'd say, like us, there's a bit of I don't think we were not running out of the gate with a full like we're kind of growing, we're forming our own. It's like picking up momentum over time. Whereas Fontaine's, I think, just were straight out of the gate, and I think Murder Capital was as well. I talked to people who knew them when they were in BIM, and they were already big long black coats. Like I know it's more than the look, you
Yeah.
know.
I,
But
I think if you're in
it's
an educational institution, you don't want people walking in with big black coats. It gives
no.
Columbine vibes.
Well, maybe you get away with BIM. It's probably the only place you get away with
Okay.
it. Probably.
Doing the summer exams, just sweating like,
Yeah.
oh, why did I Matrix cosplay today?
Oh my God, Morpheus walking around. Great stuff. But yeah,
It's
we'd
just
be
like
looking to get.
ecstasy tabs
Uh,
he's offering you. It's like, hey, all
yeah, right, kids, you want some drugs?
right.
Maybe
You want
that's
to
it. We
make
just
good
sell drugs
music.
separately. Yeah. Okay, that's music.
It's either the red pill is like post punk and the blue pill is like, I
Yeah.
guess, like free jazz or something. I don't know.
Oh, it's one or the other. It's one
Yeah.
or the other. No middle ground here, baby.
Do you find actually with BIM, it kind of gave you when you went there? Actually, let's before we talk about BIM, let's actually get a little bit about your background, perhaps. When did you kind of get into music? What were you listening to, when you were growing up? What was kind of, I guess, like the acts that you were kind of like, oh yeah, these are my acts, you know what I mean? Because like I think everyone has that experience when they're kind of growing up where you listen to the music that's around you, whether that's your parents' influence or your older siblings' influence, your friends' influence, or just what's on the radio. And then like at some point you kind of discover something that you're like, oh, this is actually my thing, you know? Did you have anything like that?
Yeah, so when I was growing up, my dad had an iPod Touch, if you remember those, and we used to blast like we'd be driving up to visit grandparents or whatever, and we'd be blasting classic rock in the car. I think he had an album. It was Rolling Stones 500 Greatest Songs of All Time. So it was
Yeah.
all that kind of jazz. Like it was all the hits from like the AC/DC, a lot of Rolling Stones, Beatles, and we'd be blasting that in the car. And then it wasn't until like secondary school where I started like I kind of missed the whole Arctic Monkeys thing as it happened. I guess I was kind of old enough. I was like what? I was like 11 years old in 2008. So I guess I could
Mhm.
have jumped on there. But I was more attracted to like classic rock and AC/DC, all that kind of thing. And then when I was a bit older, like secondary school wise, it was grunge. I loved Soundgarden. Yeah, Nirvana. I wasn't as big as I was more into Soundgarden than Nirvana, to be honest. God, I'm trying to think. What else I listened to? Alice in Chains, all that stuff. but it was always the more classic side of it. And I kind of was a bit like a contrarian, it's like, oh, all this new stuff is crap kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And then when I was in college, actually no, in secondary school, actually, I loved Royal Blood. Actually, Royal Blood were sick,
Yeah.
and that's when I started picking up the guitar in secondary school, and I was horrendous at it, and I barely practiced. It was disgusting. Yeah, I could definitely kind of be in the people who's like, oh, I played a bit of guitar in secondary school kind of thing, and
Did you start with acoustic or electric?
oh, acoustic, yeah.
Yeah.
It was, yeah, I still have it somewhere. And we didn't get electric till I was maybe, yeah, I would have been about 16 years old, I think, got electric.
Yeah, I think that's the
That's
smart thing
fine.
to do. That's the advice I always give anyone who wants to get into guitars. Like, start with acoustic because
Oh,
once you get
yeah,
into
it's your
electric,
fingers pick it up, and yeah, yeah.
yeah, I mean, get the
That-
foundation down first, and then then you can worry about tone and all that afterwards.
oh, yeah. Like the amp settings and all that crap. Like,
Exactly, man. Like, it would just drive you insane if that's what you were
yeah,
starting with.
yeah. And then I guess around then, late secondary school, I would have gone to Art and Monkeys then, a bit late, after AM maybe. Oh no, it was
Mhm.
probably around AM. But I actually didn't like AM that much. It was I heard AM and then I got into the earlier stuff, but actually like I thought Do I Want to Know is very overrated. I think it's still overrated to be honest.
Okay.
And
I like that song, but okay.
it's grand like, but it's
Okay.
very
All right.
I don't know, yeah. Like it's got that modern Arctic Monkeys crooner kind of
Sure.
shite. And like I
I
just
get
love
that.
the
I
sort
get
of
that.
stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The
The
crooning
fast
thing.
talking kind of stuff was more my
Yeah.
bag.
Right,
It's very
yeah, that kind of thing. Yeah.
yeah. I joke when you're like, it's a bit whiny, but I'm already talking shit. Oh, shit.
No, no, man, absolutely. Yeah, I
Don't
don't
tag
think
Arctic
Alex is
Monkeys
gonna
though.
hear this, so I think you're grand. I don't think you're gonna miss out on an Arctic Monkey support slot or anything down the line. So
Oh, who'd want to support them these days?
that'd be gas. So if like you came to, he's like, oh, just to do a podcast you were on, and I don't think we want you at Wembley.
Explain this. Explain this, buddy.
Like, lads, it
Uh,
was just a joke. It was just a joke. I love you.
lads. We're just trying to start beef. That's how you get quite publicity around these days. Starting some beef.
Fucking next week you'd be on the NME, just like fucking King Cara
Oh
talks
yeah,
shit on Arctic
Irish
Monkey.
musicians' comments rock the world or something. Like,
If it was in the era of like Tumblr, that would actually probably cause a bit of a stir. I remember Arctic Monkeys were huge on there. It's
oh,
around
God.
the AM era, and it was like, if you talk shit on them, it was like you were crucified.
Oh yeah, I missed all that. I was
Yeah.
Twitter. I was at Twitter at the same time talking politics and all
That's even
that.
worse in a
Yeah.
lot of ways.
Oh yeah, awful. For music, it might have been better, but definitely everything else is awful. Yeah.
Yeah, Twitter used to just be a bunch of sanctimonious people correcting each other, and now it's just a bunch of neo-Nazis. So it's like, you can't
And
win.
bots. Don't
Yeah,
forget
and
the
bots.
bots.
Yeah, of course.
And
Sorry,
bots.
I didn't mean to disqualify the bots.
Our favorite people. Our
Yeah,
favorite not people. Bots. Yeah.
yeah. Did you know how much money you can make with crypto and AI? I mean, it's just insane,
Oh God. I love it. I made money off Doge actually. I bought 30 quid of Doge the week before it blew up. And I made
Nice.
like it crashed again, obviously, but I made about 150 quid, like out of 30, which is fine.
Yeah.
I got like two drinks and a main course in a Dublin restaurant.
No, I think that's the
Right.
benefits of stupidity. I'm just not smart enough to understand crypto, so I've never invested. I was like,
Yeah,
people explain to me, I'm like, yeah, just one more time, just one more time, yeah, okay,
yeah.
and yeah, I'm just not smart enough for crypto or finance. So
Oh,
I think I'd definitely be in the red if I invested. Or could be a billionaire.
researching it. Like I put some money into like someone told me to put some money into Diageo a few months ago, and I got my dividend today, which was 25 cents. So we're on the iron. We are to the moon.
Well, it's that more or less than you get from Spotify, though. So that's
It's
the
actually
important thing you have
more.
to kind of factor in.
I haven't seen any money from Spotify actually. Maybe I just don't know how to get it. But like, because Eden
You have to set
Keys,
up a Stripe account.
yeah, like it's all right. It's all going to the Cayman Islands.
Yeah.
And Eden
Not
Keys
not that
six.
we in Ireland know anything about offshore investment or anything like that.
God,
Or
stop! Like I don't even. What islands?
this is now a crypto podcast, by the way. This is now
Well, look, if we're doing the
financial
YouTube
advice.
route, then
Yeah.
yeah, that's it. Yeah.
You get the YouTube support slot.
Mm, that's how we get it. Like, oh, we share bank accounts. Amazing.
You're
We're
like, so
neighbors.
remember those big gigs we did in Rio de Janeiro? We played to like almost 1 million people. When do we get paid for that exactly?
Yeah. Oh, it's in the other accounts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's
Yeah.
that's the dream, I think. Become a successful band and then not pay taxes. That's the dream.
I think that's my two greatest dreams.
Yes. Be a successful band and not pay
That might
taxes.
be it. That's it. Nothing else is just
But
nothing.
you totally be in the crowd, like when everyone's like giving Bono shit, you'd be like, I can't believe he did that.
Oh my God, what's my guy? Woo! We love Bono.
I'm a
We
huge
love,
Bono fan. I just don't listen to his music. Yes,
yeah,
I love
he's
his
a
love his
musician.
financial advice.
The businessman, Bono.
It's just what they teach you at BM. They're like, here's music financing, and it's like just don't pay taxes. Just here's how to cheat on a tax return, and
No, and then they just kind of tell you you're not going to make any money, and they
yeah.
move on. Like
That
it's
is
like,
actually the
no.
one benefit of not making money. You don't have to worry about taxes and accidentally getting audited all the time.
Actually, they did tell us about that because so I did business classes, and they'd be telling about people who get into promotion and stuff.
Yeah.
And like they were telling us about, I think the lecturer knew a guy who actually did the promotional, and he wasn't like MCD. It was like a small local promoter, and he got shafted on taxes 1 year.
Yeah.
So yeah, even on that, yeah. But
I mean, people, I
anyway,
don't think people even appreciate how much money goes into fucking just putting it in a single concert. I mean, when you think about it, I mean, because I used to work gigs and stuff. I obviously wasn't promoting, but like I used to work some of those bigger gigs, and I just sometimes look even before the festival sites were set up, and I'm like, Jesus Christ, the amount of people here, the amount of like little things that go into the organization. I don't even know
oh
how
yeah.
much this is costing, And it's kind of it makes me kind of see the decadence, I guess, of some of the bigger gigs where I'm like, oh, geez, like. For one night of entertainment, like all this money and resources going into,
Oh,
this
it's
is quite
crazy with the
insane.
pyrotechnics. Like, but even like yeah, even like a local gig, like they work getting the
Yeah.
backline, the engineering, like posters. Like after this interview, I'm going straight into town to spend the afternoon hanging up posters, which had to be printed and designed, and it's like there's 100 people behind every gig, like, and it's all for like what 2 or 3 hours.
Yeah, I know it's
Crazy.
insane, and
Yeah.
it's also I think it's such a shit thing when like I go to local gigs and like no one turns up. I feel so terrible because I know how much effort goes into the smallest gig, just the organization, shit like that. It's like I
Oh
think
yeah.
people. It was like post-COVID. I think people had a bit of appreciation for live music, but I don't know if that's dissipating now. Like obviously, I mean, you're someone who's actually in bands. I mean, do you feel the appetite is still there for people to go to local shows? That was one benefit I always thought of, like big gigs becoming almost prohibitively expensive is that like maybe people check out local shows, but I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think so. Like someone said this to me before, where like the days of where if you're just walking down the street and you see a gig and you might pop in,
Yeah,
that's gone, and it's all because, not all because, a lot of different things. But I mean, with social media, it's kind of stratifying. Everything's so stratified and genrefied, and everyone has their own favorite bands or whatever. So if you want to find a new band, you just go on Spotify. You don't
yeah,
go or YouTube or whatever. You don't go down the road looking for a gig. So the people who show up to the gigs are the ones who want to go to them. You're not going to get randomers anymore. And the cost, again, the cost. I mean, we're like our gig next week is a fiver for a ticket. And but last year we did, I think it was 10, God, was it 10? It might have been 10. It was like 10 or 11 quid or something. And like the only people who were there were the ones who wanted to be there, or their family or friends that were invited or whatever. And for local gigs, just I mean, I know there was one gig I wanted to go tonight. Joan Nerves.
yes, I know there's
Yeah,
I've
yeah.
seen
So
them a few
Nerves are
times.
playing tonight, Whelan's, and they've got cables supporting. That's sold out.
Yeah,
But I guarantee you, like everyone who's going to that knows Nerves, or they know Cable, or they're no one is going there because they want to be. Oh, this band looks like. Oh, this poster looks cool.
yeah,
let's check this out. Kind of thing. Like not no one's going like that. Everyone knows what they want.
yeah,
Everyone knows why they're there, and I think that kind of dilutes it. It dilutes the scene a bit. It makes it hard for people to get into. It's not gatekeeping. It's not conscious gatekeeping, but you're not reaching out to the masses anymore. You just got these people in this scene, which is great. Dublin scene's fantastic, and especially with BIM and everyone. But yeah, there is an appetite for local gigs, but it's not with everyone, and it's harder and harder for people. Even like I've been to gigs with my mates, and they wouldn't be in the scene. They've got normal jobs. They're great. They're going on
Yeah,
holidays. They've got cars. Fantastic.
they have a
But
mortgage.
yeah, but like they've like we go to a gig and like they wouldn't go in until the support acts have ended. Which
Yeah,
is fine. Each their own. No, that's the way it is. That's the way it goes. But like there's that kind of thing going around as well. Like if you don't know the bands, like why would you watch them? Maybe at bigger gigs you discover bands because you're in the crowd already. You can't
yeah,
leave. But if it's a tiny support band, like a BIM Live, we played BIM Live last year, and Joe Maxey. I mean, you probably know Joe Maxey. Yeah, you definitely.
yeah. I've
But the
interviewed them before. Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
I know, Mikey
Mike.
quite well.
Oh yeah, yeah, Mike, lovely guy. But they were playing before us at BIM Live, and then we came on. It was at the start of the night, and it was deserted. There was maybe like 15 people there. And if you go to a Joe Maxey gig, it's mental.
Yeah,
It's crazy. It's
yeah,
always full
yeah.
of people. It's gonna be well. I'm counting on it for next week. But so that no one like wandered in to be like, oh wow, look at this. And it's been live, and that's what the night's meant to be about. But really, what happened on that night, and we didn't get a massive crowd either. We had people there, obviously, but it was like teachers and people who knew us already. But like, no one was there wasn't a lot of people coming in early to check out. These guys might be good, or these guys might be not.
Yeah.
So
And also,
there's
sometimes the opposite
benefits
thing
to
too. Sorry, but yeah, sometimes
sorry,
the
just the
opposite too. I see
benefits and
like
drawbacks
people,
to this.
if your friends are into sport acts, they leave before the headline. I don't know. It's something that I can't really relate to because like when I go to a gig, it's like I want to see everything. I kind of say even probably later than I should. Just for like transport and shit like that. So yeah, I don't know. Like I don't know. It's something that I don't particularly relate to people who just want to see their friends act. Like I don't know, but maybe like you were saying, people have normal chemical brain balances and stuff like that. I can't relate to that. So
Look, it's fine. I mean, they just like people. Just sometimes people just want to have a pint somewhere, like maybe it's a long day or whatever. But I mean, it's just common in that regard, and it's not just my mates. Obviously, there's other people there. They like, for example, like we did a gig last year, and one of the bands was rammed, and then the other band after that was deserted.
yeah,
Like people were going down to the back of the room because they came down to see their mates, but once their mates had stopped playing, they all went down to the back of the room again. Like I don't know if that's a social media thing. I don't remember gigs for social media, but it's something. It's there.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
it's also weird too. Like sometimes, well, I will get to King Cara in a second, by the way. But I'm interested in
true.
this conversation too. But it is interesting too because like sometimes you see like I don't know, it's weird. Like sometimes you see bands and it's like, oh, I think they're like a pretty big name in my head, and then they're like supporting a lesser known act, which I think is kind of cool. There doesn't seem to be a semblance of hierarchy necessarily in the Dublin music scene, which seems kind of cool. But then like sometimes like I can see them one night in a packed out house doing a headline show, and then I can see them do a support slot another night, and like no one's there. It's like I find it very hard to kind of gauge acts popularities nowadays because like unless it's something like Ones to Watch or one of these kind of like festivals that they have at Next Big Thing or something like that, where everyone who kind of goes is there to see everyone. It's hard for me to kind of go like, oh yeah, this is the reach this band has because I don't know. It just seems like it's kind of all over the place to me.
like gig wise, or
Yeah, I mean, just in terms of like a band's reach and band's like popularity, it's like, do you have, is it all just like your friends who are available that day, or do you feel like you have kind of independent listeners who just like your band for the music you're putting out? I don't know. It's hard to kind of gauge that, I think.
it is hard. I mean, because everyone like the access to different bands people have is crazy. Like you could find every band in Dublin right now within 30 minutes. It would take you 30 minutes maybe. You'd find every single
Yeah,
band that has stuff out in Dublin.
yeah,
And like, how do you decide? Especially like people are just being very selective with where they go. Like, oh, I don't want to see them in the support slot. And I like they've told us this in BIM. that don't have too many gigs in the one place, because why
Mm.
would I see them support these guys who I don't know when I can see them at the headline gig? And just the way Dublin is, I mean, everyone knows it. Paying, pints, transport, getting back home after night out, gig tickets, etc. So people are just very selective now. I mean, I think the best gauge is to go to the headliner. And if they're at the headliner, then they're the OGs. They're the guys who are that's who you gauge to reach. And like I know bands who I wouldn't really like BIM bands, for example, who would sell out the room every time. But I wouldn't hear it. I would never heard of them if it wasn't in BIM. But every single time they're selling out that room.
Yeah.
So I'd say headline is the best place to gauge that kind of thing. Again, like the Nerves one today, like they're gonna what is that Whelan's main room or is it upstairs or I don't know
I
actually.
don't know actually off the top of my head.
No.
Yeah, no, I think they would be big enough to play the main room anyway. Like they've been around for a while. I mean, I've seen them, do some really great support slots and stuff like that, and do some great headlining shows at like
Yeah, it
Tilt and things like
tilts
that.
and
I mean, they really suit big venues. I saw them at the Button Factory for the Tilt showcase one time, and Jesus Christ, I mean, like it was like, obviously Tilt, I mean, has like the really good looking, stage aesthetic and things like that. Has like the back screen and the lighting tech. It's just it all syncs
yeah.
up so beautifully. But like, yeah, I saw them at that, and it was just a really powerful show. So yeah, I'd
Mm.
imagine like they'd be able to headline, especially if Cables are supporting. I imagine they'd be like a headline, like a main
What a
room
night of
band.
noise.
Yeah, I know. Bring your earphones or
Bring
what do
your
you call
plugs, yeah.
it?
Jeez.
Earplugs. Yeah.
I wish I was going. Yeah, I didn't get to go on time, but it's fine.
I want to talk actually a little bit about just before we go on to King Cara. Now that you're actually in a band, do you find that the things you were learning at BIM on terms of a theoretical level or and kind of in the abstract as people are kind of teaching you, do you find that they translate pragmatically when you're actually in a band and when you're doing it for yourself, or do you find there's I don't know, there's some things to learn along the way?
Yes. In BIM, because I was never into theatrical stuff and I was never into the big pyrotechnics. I mean, no one's using pyrotechnics at this point, but pyrotechnics. I mean,
I think the
if
fire
nothing
marshal,
else,
if you were playing like
yeah,
Sinead, the fire marshal would be like, no.
yeah. No way. But I guess it taught me to think about those things as well. It taught me how to think about them
Mhm.
as opposed to what to think about them. Because obviously, look, we're a rock band, and BAME when I was in it a whole year ago, it was a lot of focus on like theatrical stuff. Or was Brat out at that time last year, April or
I think it
February
came in
or some
this. I think it came in the summer last year. I can't
in the
remember.
summer.
Yeah,
So maybe it was someone
yeah.
else. It was someone else along those lines. Charlotte, whoever, Chapel Roan, whoever the fuck.
Mhm.
And it was looking at people like that. And there's nothing specific I would have taken away from that, but it taught me how to think about them. And especially for like, we did our final exam as King Cara, and Mel, the drummer, wasn't with the band at the time, but Owen and Ignis. So it was me, Owen, and Ignis. Oh God, no, was Ignis playing actually? Was Owen playing actually? Anyway, so King Cara were playing, and we did like I was playing around with colors, and I'm kind of bringing that concept forward into this cycle of singles we have coming up. So we had different colors for different songs, and I liked. Cowboy Bebop?
Yeah, yeah, of course, yeah.
Yeah, so the opening credits, and it's got
Yes.
yeah, amazing, amazing
That's the
credits.
free jazz beam coming in now.
Oh yeah, that's the Blue Pillar record. But it has writing coming down the at certain points as like writers and writing and letting coming down. So I was kind of thinking that, and I had like lyrics to the songs on the wall behind us, but it was like kind of clipping into the edges of the thing. So it was just a
Yeah.
wall of text pretty much in different colors. And there might have been like a visual at the back end. Like one song would have had a plane in behind it, 'cause it's about immigration, that kind of thing. And like BIM would have taught me how to think about that. And, but honestly, the main idea for the colors thing was White Stripes and Jack White, because he obviously has different colors for his different projects, like White Stripes, red and white, and his solo stuff is blue and white. And God, the Rockin' Tourists have a color really brown, maybe. I
Yeah, I don't know.
don't know about that. Anyway,
I think
those
this
two
is the
things
first
I
time
thought
I've
were
thought of the Raconteurs in like 20
yeah.
years.
Oh, such an
They're
underrated
they're good
band.
bands. They're a good band. I'm just saying they
So
haven't had the
underrated.
longevity, I think, of the White Stripes or
No,
Jack White's solo career.
no, they had stuff out there 2 years ago, maybe, and it
Actually,
was all
still
right.
going. Actually, I actually have to feign ignorance on this point. Actually,
No, he's yeah, they had some singles. They had an album out. I think it was 23, I want to say. And but he's just been doing his solo stuff from that new album. Well, not a new
yeah.
album anymore, but the album came out last year, which is fantastic. So I really enjoyed that one. But anyway, back to the what Ben told us about the theatrical stuff. Yeah, it taught us how to think about it. It taught us to take it into consideration, even if we're a rock band, even if we're punk or whatever, because it teaches you how to put thought into everything. Like, because if you're looking disheveled, if you're looking like you're all punks or whatever, that you don't give a fuck about your costumes or whatever, you should still think about that. You shouldn't
Yeah.
just get there without saying a single word about the clothing. You should be like, all right, everyone dressed like we don't give a fuck about how we dress. Like that should still be a thought. Like there should
It's
still be
calculated dishevelment.
yeah, everything should be calculated, Like the
Yeah.
feeling of spontaneity should be preserved, but you gotta calculate it, Improvisation should be planned, that kind of way.
Did before you joined BIM, were you playing in bands or were you just kind of doing stuff in your own time?
Yeah, so I was in a band at DCU and we were called Four Corners and we put out one song, we recorded ourselves and it was a small like we did like Fibbers gigs and mostly Fibbers gigs. We did some battles of the bands in
It's a rite
DCU.
of passage.
But yeah, it's a rite of passage. Thursday
Yeah,
sessions, it was great.
yeah,
No, it was great.
absolutely.
And
No, it's
Jack was
great. It actually is great for like
oh, it's great
bands
for
doing
you
their
guys,
first
yeah.
time stuff. So yeah, it has that
Oh
like
yeah.
dingy rock bar vibe. I actually do like the Fibbers Five. What I've realized from talking to other acts over the years is that it's a place that conjures up very mixed feelings for people.
I have a lot of time for Fibbers. Like I just have
Yeah,
it's
so
quite nostalgic doing those gigs where I wasn't treating it like a job, so I wasn't thinking about this thing or that thing. You just get up and play with your mates, have a round of pints afterwards, some pool. It's
hmm
we had some good times. I'm still friends with those guys from that band. So but that was so before I was in that was the band I had in DCU, and then before DCU I was in DCU in 2016, first round in college. And then before that, I was in Longford. And Longford, I couldn't really get a band going in Longford because obviously transport, I didn't drive and no one drove. Getting
that's where you're from,
um,
Longford, is it? Yeah,
so I grew up in Dublin till I was 11.
yeah.
And then we moved out to Longford and I lived there till 2016. So all secondary school was in Longford. And I did some stuff in Longford, like some shows in schools, in my school. I did 2 or 3 gigs like that. We did concerts at Paddy's Day kind of thing. But yeah, they're the only other 2 bands I've been in really. So
What what were you studying in DCU, and what made you kind of want to transition to actually do music as like as a vocation? And when you did join BIM, what was your course?
so in DC was my fourth choice. My first choice was history and politics. I love history and politics and stuff. So my first choice was history and politics in Trinity. I didn't get that. My fourth choice was economics, politics, and law in DCU, and it was fine. I wasn't a very good student. I'm still not, and I
That's why you're a
yeah,
musician.
that's why I'm. Uh, and so the law and politics was fine, but the economics, it tied me to a tree and garroted me.
Yeah,
So I failed 2 years. I did first year, failed it, repeated it, passed. Second year, failed it, and then when I failed second year, I decided to drop out. And when I dropped out, I was working in bars at the time, and I was just working in bars. I had no real plans or whatever. And then in end of 2018, I was actually I was in Bar, do you know Bar Rua in
yeah.
Clarendon Street? Yeah, so
Mhm.
the TUD Conservatory used to be across the road. And at the time, I think I was still doing some Four Corners stuff. And I'd be taking my lunch break at the top floor of Barrua and looking at the conservatory and people going in, the musicians and stuff. And at the last Four Corners gig, which then dropped dead twice, R.I.P.
Rest in peace. Yeah.
And yeah, exactly. And
And it was
then
opposite the Tivoli, which also R.I.P.
I don't think I know that one now.
The Tivoli Theatre. It was a great venue. It's now hotels, but yeah,
Oh,
on
that's
Francis
right.
Street.
Hotel. Yeah, I know. I know the
Yeah,
hotel. I know.
yeah, and actually just
Um,
up the road from BIM.
yeah, no, same
Yeah,
road. Yeah, because I was at
yeah.
that gig, and after the gig, me and my mate were outside, and people were asking in smoking area, and people were asking us, "Oh, do you go to BIM?" It's like, "What the hell's BIM?" And then when I was at Barrua, and I was like, God, maybe because I always really enjoyed music, playing music, but I never thought of it. I was like, God, I need to go to get a real degree. And then I was like, wait a second, I can get a fake degree. So, yeah, it's not a BIM. I love you, BIM. So, but I was just
You're not
like,
going to
yeah,
be
why
asked
not?
to come back for like an alumni talk or anything.
Oh, I'll never. Anne Marie Shield's gonna kill me. But but yeah, I was just like, this is what I love doing, so why don't I try and do this?
Mhm.
And then COVID happened. So I had all these plans for gigs and doing a Fontaines and oh, we're gonna get famous in first year, label by second year. And COVID obviously screwed everything. And I feel in my year in BIM, COVID hit it hard because it kind of soured everyone on the experience. So first and second year were kind of shit.
Mhm.
And then I had King Cara by second half of second year. I put that lineup together, and we put out our first single, which we just re-released as Favorite Crusade. And then yeah. Anyway, I think I've gone beyond the reach of the question, but that's basically the
And
that's the
just
crash
briefly,
course.
what was the course you decided to go for?
Oh yeah, it was so it's all commercial modern music, so it's a 4 year course, and it was guitar I was supposed to,
Yeah.
which was a
And
mistake, but I should
when it
have.
came to when it came to King Cara, as you were kind of alluding to earlier, I mean, it had like different iterations over its like pretty short lifespan. Like 2022 really isn't that long ago, I guess, in the grand scheme of things. But so how'd you kind of like was it gradually just kind of finding people who were kind of like minded, or was it kind of like necessity? I know other people I didn't go to BIM myself, but I know other people who've been there. A lot of times you meet people through like exams, like I just need a bassist for this or I need a drummer for this. So was that kind of the case for you? Was it like out of necessity, or was it more kind of just like organic and gradual, just meeting like-minded people?
Well, I feel like the fact that we were on COVID for a year and a half, I know some people in my year they made friends very quickly even during COVID, and I didn't. I mean, I
Mhm.
was a bit older than everyone else, but yeah, I was 20. What was that? 2019. I was 23, 24 maybe at the time going into BIM, and everyone was like 19 or 20, whatever.
Yeah.
So there's a bit of an age gap there, and so I find it hard to meet people. And by the time everyone was forming bands, I was kind of like, I've been over, no, people were ahead basically when it came
Yeah.
to forming bands and music, whatever. And I liked hard rock, but I didn't like metal. So that cut me out. I was just slap bang in the worst spot, like because I didn't want to be in an indie band, but I didn't want to be in a metal band, so I was kind of
Yeah.
screwed. So it was about like forming when King Car first formed. It was more about finding people who'd say yes to playing, and that iteration continued for maybe almost 2 years, and then it kind of died. It kind of withered away as bands do, and I wanted like a fresh outlook on things, so I found Owen and Ignis, and Sam was our the drummer for the second half. He played in Eden Key, so that's Sam playing in Eden Key, and that came together. It did come together because yes, they said yes because it was actually they got together for a we applied for a BIM gig, so I wanted to kind of get us together for one gig, and then we decided to do another one, and then we did the single release. We recorded the single Eden Key, and then Sam went to pursue his own stuff. So it was me, Owen, and me, Ignis, and Owen, and then we brought Mel on board last year. after Sam left. But Mel was actually recommended by Sam. But it was kind of out of necessity. It wasn't like the Fontaines thing. We were all meeting up, writing poetry kind of stuff. That wasn't happening.
Wearing Matrix
Um,
jackets.
yeah, like, and we do have like different because Owen plays in Rain in
Rain in
December, which is
December.
heavier.
Yep.
Yeah, and Ignis plays in Skyless, which is shoegaze, and Mel does more like Arctic Monkeys kind of stuff. But I feel like we all hit a good spot. I feel like we're all in a good spot where we bring different things to the table and different outlooks. Like I'd be all about the royal blood kind of riffs kind of thing, and then Ignis would throw some shoegazy stuff into it, and then Mel's drumming would be kind of Arctic Monkeysy kind of drumming, you know. So we're all it's a good mix of stuff, and
Owen
it's
just
in a
kind of
good
hangs out.
spot. Yeah, somehow it works. Like it's Frankenstein's
You
monster of
shouted everyone
influences
else
here.
out except Owen. I just felt like no, no,
Oh,
I'm just
yeah.
taking the piss because when I did the Raining in
Oh,
December
it's
gig,
a nice.
Owen would just kind of just go, yeah, yeah.
But Owen would be kind of in my wave, like, kind of more like my wave around riffs and stuff.
Yeah.
So, and in fact, everyone says our voices sound exactly like our voices. If there's a paper say his voice, he's actually doing backing vocals on the chorus, but it literally just sounds like me doubling it, like it's uncanny. So,
And he's also kind of looking like a little bit too. So, are you sure you're
no,
not the same person?
two tall white boys. Yeah. Well, he's actually from Westmeath, which is close to Longford. So
Oh, yeah.
there you
The
go.
the
Yeah,
the,
yeah.
the plot thickens.
Oh my God, what's the
When it came to the first single he released, because he released it in April last year, Eden Key, as you mentioned there. As I was listening to it, I don't know if this is a comparison you've gotten before, but it seemed to me kind of Joycean. It seemed like I don't know, a very condensed chapter in like Ulysses or something, it
no one's
just
ever
felt kind
said.
of like yeah, well, there you go. That's my,
There you go. Thank
I
you.
guess, unique perspective on it. Because for those who don't know, I think like anyone who lives in Dublin would know, but just in case anyone listen from Longford or Westmeath or wherever, Eden Key, obviously, very big street in Dublin. A lot of cultural venues like Shanae and Sandhouse and uh, not actually on the key itself, but adjacent to it, like Grand Social and things like that. So and
Mm.
it's just like about it's a very prosaic, I think, approach to just wandering the street. It's not like really overtly romantic. It's kind of just about like you say, like just like broken glass, as you say in the song, and just kind of I don't know, just a very prosaic approach to the street. And one thing I noticed, the continuity between your first song and the new song that's coming out that we'll get onto, um, was very introspective. I mean, it has this like real kind of stream of consciousness again, very Joycean. You can see the parallels, I hope. Where it's just kind of like it's all kind of like it seems all very internal and just kind of like expressing just kind of what's on your mind as you're going somewhere. That's my read of the song. I don't know if you think that's a fair interpretation, but
Well,
what kind of like incentivized you to release that as your first single and go, this is the band?
I thought the riff's good. I really like the riff, and so it's interesting you say that because it actually was because I put it out in the press release at the time. It's about walking through Dublin after working in a club. So it's late Dublin late at night, so it was a long walk, like Ulysses. And that stream of, and I wrote it like that stream of conscious because I was trying to come up with things, I'm trying to remember things I'd seen, and it's all part of the walk because you can walk from stumbling down the street. Yeah, you're walking down the street and you walk past McDonald's and Grafton Street. You walk past the Spire, and there's always people milling around. Back then, anyway, pre-COVID era, and I liked it because it's more conventional. Like no, it's got first chorus, solo, da da da. And I like the subject matter as well because it was very Dublin. And I mean, obviously the song came for like I like the song first, obviously, and I love the riff. Like the riff was, it's a riff I'm proud of coming up with, and but that the aspect of it that it was Dublin and a local song, I really like. It appealed to me as well because it's kind of marking us as a local band
Mhm.
because one thing about my songwriting I always wanted to do was just be honest about the life I have, which the Dublin that I know, as opposed to like some sort of idealistic thing or some sort of like speaking from a perspective that I don't have or someone else's perspective who lives in Dublin. So it's about Dublin, but it's not the Dublin of maybe it is, it's not the Dublin of Joyce and it's not the Dublin of Catholicism because like let's face it, I mean look, there was Catholicism in schools when I was young, but look, everyone hates the church. Like by the time I wrote that song, everyone was hating the church, like so it's not the Dublin of priests walking around hitting people, that kind of thing. It's a
Sure.
Dublin of 24-hour Macca's on Grafton Street. You're going to Hanger, South William, Palace, the old Palace, with the watered down drinks. It's those fucking dodgy
You better hope that's
casinos.
true, or else you're gonna get sued. By the way.
No, the new one's a lot nicer. They used to,
Okay.
well, that's the same owners, but goddamn, no, those double vodkas, please, like a quarter
I'm
vodka.
I'm just I'm just gonna say I don't know who waters down their drinks in any of those. I'm sure some of the Weatherspoons definitely do. I know Weatherspoons aren't listening to this. They definitely water
Oh
down their
yeah, but
drinks.
like you get your money's worth. Like,
Yeah,
you know?
3 quid a
But like
pint,
that's
but
the kind of like, and
80%
it's
water.
not like, yeah, but it's not like Dublin where, as in like a working class. I'm not working class, I'm not going to pretend that I am. So it's not that Dublin, but it's a Dublin of like people in the middle class who go to college or work at their normal jobs and then go out for drinks on the weekend. Like that's kind of, it's. I was thinking of like workman smoking area kind of stuff. Like
Mhm.
that guy in the second verse. He's quoting Karl Marx and James Connolly's Instagram bio. Now that's workman smoking. Try being side, the workman smoking area all the way. Like because I used to
The
love.
Bolshevik Revolution starts in
Yeah,
the
exactly.
workman's
Like,
spoken area.
exactly, because that's where I'd be going, and I go less now, but in those days, that's where I'd always workman's Wednesdays, 5 euro cocktails. A1.
Now I have to ask: did you actually enjoy the workman's, or did you feel like, oh, this is the place where artistes hang out?
Oh no, because I never thought of myself as an artiste
Okay,
or
fair
an
enough. So you
artist for
actually
that
did
matter.
enjoy it. No, because
I
that's the
actually
thing.
did.
I just always feel pretentious anywhere I am. Doesn't matter where. So maybe it's my
I'm
internal
always an
struggle.
artiste, like artiste in my room. No, I genuinely enjoyed it. I was always good crack. I mean, I know
Yeah. Okay.
some of my friends don't like going there anymore, but I'd still go if I was there. Yeah, okay, that's fine.
Yeah, it's just really cramped. It's like I hope a fire never breaks out there.
Oh my God, yeah, Jesus, like all those flights of stairs, you'd be you'd be trampled. Like, and they used to have great bops in the dance floor upstairs. Oh, they'd always
Mm,
be playing like Interpol, The Strokes, great stuff. Oh, I loved
yeah.
it. Yeah.
I think Workman's has more demand than it does floor space, is my point.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah. And the
Especially
venue's
if
great
like,
as well. In fairness, I
oh yeah,
always
the venue is really good.
oh yeah,
Dude,
but the sound is great. Like,
I have to say something. I want to get your opinion on this. I actually
yeah.
prefer the cellar to the main room.
Harder to see in the cellar. Got the big pillar in the way. I don't
Yeah,
know.
but the cellar feels like, we're all here for this gig, where the main room just feels like an offshoot. It's like you could see people just like wandering in there by accident, which actually may have a benefit too, where it's like, as you were kind of mentioning, people just wandering in and checking out a band. So maybe if there was no one at the door and you could just wander in, that'd be kind of cool. Yeah.
That would be kind of cool. Um, I like both of them. It's a difference of degrees. I mean, I just remember going to work the cellar and I just couldn't see over people's heads, kind of thing. I couldn't even see
That's
the band.
fair.
But no, I like both of them. I like both. I've been to some gigs. I saw Raining in December playing the cellar. Actually, that was a great gig.
I was at that show, yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh right. Oh,
Yeah,
great, yeah. Good
yes.
show. Good show.
I think I
And
think
who else?
Vinny showed me out at that show actually. 'Cause
Oh, he might.
I did an
Oh,
interview with
oh,
him
oh, he
recently. Yeah,
did actually.
yeah,
Yeah, that's
yes,
right.
yes.
I was wondering. I was
Shout out
wondering.
Vinny.
Oh, shout out to Vinny.
Yeah, that's it. Me like again, my pretentious internal struggle, like
Yeah.
getting a shout out from the band. Yeah, it's the first and only time it happened. So,
But he didn't say shout out Aaron. Did he say shout out Aaron Kavanagh from Post Burnout? Because
I think he
then,
just said shout out post. I don't know. He probably doesn't know my name.
oh man, All right, if you come next week, Aaron, I'll shout out Aaron Cara Kavanagh from successful media publication Post Burnout. How's that sound? Okay.
Yeah, maybe.
Renowned.
Yeah, I don't mind you embellishing and lying on my behalf. That's fine.
No embellishment needed.
Actually,
Fine, embellishment.
let's shout out the gig itself. I was gonna do the single first, but let's shout out the gig because we're kind of
Yeah,
we've
forget the
stumbled upon
single.
it. Yeah,
Unimportant. So the single is next Thursday, the 1st of May. Doors at 8 o'clock. And this will all be on Instagram. But doors at 8 o'clock. We're being supported by the mighty Joe Maxi. And tickets are €5 on the door. No online tickets. Just show up and preferably cash. But there will be Revolut options on the door. And we'll be selling merch. And it's going to be very sweaty. And it's going to be hopefully, it's going to be very crammed and sweaty and awful. And you'll need 2 showers afterwards, hopefully. That's the idea. But
you didn't mention the venue.
no, the venue is lovely on Shaw on Camden Street. And
Lovely.
you go right
That
up
is
the
a great
stairs.
place. Yeah,
Cracking spot.
that
But yeah, good
actually
point.
I actually I think that's kind of like the spiritual successor to Drop Dead Twice.
I can see that. Yeah.
They have
No,
very
definitely I can
similar
see that.
vibes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, when you were playing Drop
Yeah.
Dead Twice, did you play the downstairs or the upstairs? Because they had two venues.
Downstairs.
Yeah,
Downstairs.
the
Yeah.
upstairs is very similar to the Onshaw upstairs. That was a
I
fucking
thought
great place.
yeah, I saw Cable upstairs actually on
Yeah.
BIM Live one year. Yeah, yeah.
So you get my point. Like it's very similar.
It is quite similar. Let's say on show parentheses spiritual success to the Drop Dead Twice. That's shout out on show and shout out Drop Dead Twice as well if they're shout out to everyone
Yeah.
reading this interview.
That I think the Drop Dead Twice is probably going to become a hotel. That's why everything that's just like a cultural venue. I just assume it's going to be a hotel. I'm very cynical.
Yeah, definitely. I can't see it not happen. I can definitely see that happening. Yeah, but you know what? Those tourists need to live somewhere. They need to stay somewhere, Aaron, so they can buy more
They need to stay
cars.
somewhere and then have no cultural venues to go to at nighttime. It's a compromise,
think
yeah.
I couldn't agree with you more. Actually, I think they need to buy one €10 pint in the Temple Bar, and
Yeah.
then they can go back to the hotel, and maybe they'll get some
Play
breakfast in the
solitaire in their
morning.
room or
Oh
something.
my god! Great TV channels. They can watch some quality RTE programming. Fair City, amazing.
Hopefully they
Welcome to
get
Dublin.
Friday night. They'll get the Late Late Show. You know, all the hot
Oh
guests
my
there. You
god!
know, actually,
Just
I probably shouldn't slag it off because you might get an invite someday to play the Late Late Show, and then Patrick Coulty will hear this go.
no, you know what?
Um,
No. It's like no. It's fair game. Okay, it's fair game. It's a cultural institution. All right, they can take it. They can take some slag
and
every
that'll
now and
be the
again.
episode that Alex Turner's on. Like
Oh my
it'll be
god,
double
it's the
whammy.
same
They
thing.
both listen to the podcast beforehand for research purposes.
They go through everything. That's why we need to wait to get famous for like 10 years or something. So this is all
This will all
gone.
be buried.
No evidence. Buried in
Actually,
the mix.
do you find press like King Cara, do you find it's easy to kind of access press? I know the Goo who, you know, Disclosure, I do write for that publication too. But they seem like, you know, pretty open to taking on new acts. I know Hot Press, who I don't have any affiliation with, so I can talk a little more detached there. I know with Hot Press they do some semblance of like, you know, newer acts. I mean, they're primarily focused on the big international acts. RTE do some stuff too on their website with smaller acts. So just from a press perspective, I mean, do you find it's been easy to kind of get people's attention?
Um, do I have to be careful what I say here? No,
No, you can
I'm not gonna. No, I'm not
speak in
gonna.
generalizations if you want. I don't want to fucking I don't
Oh
know
no, it's fine.
yeah.
So press wise, Hot Press were nice enough to put us on their Irish Tracks of the Month last time, and I've
And those
emailed
are
them.
massive
Obviously,
for acts like Hot
oh
Press,
yeah,
Niler Nine, Golden Plaque, all those like I've spoken to artists who've gotten on them and like they do see a difference.
oh yeah, definitely the Hot Press one is definitely, and it's also nice for
Hmm.
the. It's good for the motivation. Golden Plaque as well. I've spoken to Stephen Byrne a few times. I got some private classes, one-on-one classes with him in BIM. So I've spoken to him a
Nice.
few times, and they put Favorite Crusade actually on their Fresh Irish playlist today. So shout out to the
Yes.
boys in Golden Plaque. and Stephen, thank you, and supportive as always. And then Nyler Nine, no, and I think we sent Niall this a song last time, and I think he's more towards different genre than us, which is
Yeah.
fine. You know, it is what it is. And and then the goo actually is funny. There was a funny, well, it's not that funny of a story, but it is something of a story. So I submitted Eden Key to the goo last year, and then it was a few months after. It might have been in October or no, I think it was more like August maybe. But we were doing a merch fair in Workman's for Gaza, and there was like an open mic bit. So I got up on an acoustic guitar and I was playing Eden Key, and there's about 3 people in the room. They had a great time though. And then at the end of the song, the guy comes up to me and says, "You never believe in this, but I am actually writing a review of this song for the Goo."
Yeah.
Uh, he was saying it was so random. He just walked in. It was Ryan Kelly. Shout out Ryan Kelly in the Goo, lovely guy, and he put the
My
review in the
colleague
next.
that I've never met.
Yeah.
Because we all do things remotely, so I
Oh
technically
right,
am a
okay,
colleague of these people, but like I've never
okay.
met most of them.
Well, it was quite nice, and his review is quite nice of Eden Key. So I've sent it to the Goo again, FAO
Yeah.
Ryan Kelly, and but look, I didn't. I left things a bit late this year, like getting onto press and stuff. So I didn't email all of them, like every radio show in the country or whatever. We actually have an interview with Phoenix FM,
Nice.
servicing the Dublin 15 area on Monday. And but hot press anyway. Well, hopefully hot press this year. We've got Golden Plaque now anyway. Genuine Irish. Genuine Irish didn't put us on the playlist last year, and I emailed a few times actually, but I've emailed them again. I'm going to keep hounding them, and hopefully we'll get something this year. But I
Could
mean,
I offer
reaching
a
out
bit of advice for not only yourself but any artist who maybe listen to this who wants
to
press? I would suggest not necessarily contacting the editorial emails or anything like that. I would say if you can, and if they don't get annoyed at it, find individual journalists who write for the publication and try and contact them first, especially with the Goo, because I know with writing for the Goo, they allow like a lot more individuality with like the writers. So, for example, I just submit stuff to John, and sometimes he publishes, sometimes he doesn't, and that's just the way it is. But like, I think if you can, because like all the editors, I'm sure the book publications just get like inundated with stuff, and they have to kind of prioritize a bunch of stuff. So if there's any artists listening who perhaps would like some press, I would say maybe try at the individual journalist level if you can. But it depends because sometimes people like when I wrote for other publications would contact me about doing an interview or doing a review or whatever, and I'd have to kind of go, well, it's not really my decision. It depends on the editor. Some editors are kind of like John from the Goo is very open to people submitting stuff and publishing it when he needs. But other editors are very like, no, this is my publication. I decide what's on here. So it kind of depends on the
correct.
editor
Okay.
too. But
Okay.
if I think that might be an avenue for people who are kind of like looking for stuff. But yeah, I don't know.
Okay. No. That's good advice. Yeah, it's hard to get those emails, but
Yeah. Well,
I
dude,
think
that's just
I
because I just have like PR coming. Even like with my little publication, and mine's very small and all that. But even I get like a lot of stuff, and it's just kind of like pragmatically, I have to kind of like figure out how to like accommodate as
yeah
many people as I can, things like that. So yeah, I can't even imagine what it'd be like for like a hot press or like a Nyler Nine or something who or like a district or something like that. So I don't know. Maybe that would just be an avenue. I mean, what do you have to lose?
yeah. And for hot press, I actually my I know someone that works there, so I was able to get an email or two
Nice, nice.
for people at hot press. So I've said to the editorial and the others and stuff. So it worked anyway. But yeah, no, definitely like the personal touch, and that's something they emphasize in BIM a lot.
Yeah,
Like when you're communicating with the press or anyone in a professional setting, always like the personal touch is so important to have a personal relationship with them, and don't just send them an email saying hi, this is Jimmie, blah 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 blah, releasing a new
sure.
single, blah blah, regards. Like just try and be like, if you haven't met them in person or whatever, or like thank them for putting them on last time. Like I'm gonna shout out in Tip FM, because I think we got on two radio stations last year. We got on Southwest Dublin FM. We got on, it wasn't, we got on two Irish radio stations. And we got on Tip FM, and I think it was Ellie Ryan was her name, and she
Yeah.
was very nice about eating quiche. Has some very nice words about it
I
on
recognize her
the
name. I
show.
think she's like pretty
Yeah,
big
no,
too.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I think it's Premium Irish, I think it's the show.
Yeah.
But when I sent her an email again this year, I wasn't like, "Dear Ellie, we released a song, da da da." It was, I was like, "Oh, thank you so much for playing us," and I mean, I was deserving praise of her, like, for playing the song. I hope you like the new one. Hope everything's well with yourself. And that kind of keeping those kind of personal relationships is so important, because I mean, the music industry is running relationships, but every business is running relationships. Like, if anyone's listening to this at all in any kind of business, it's built on personal relationships.
Yeah.
And you can't just, even if you're just emailing them, it's so important to be personable and just be nice, like you're talking to them in real life. Be as nice as you would be in real life. I mean, look, if you're a dickhead in real life, then there's nothing really I can do. You're kind
But
of
actually,
fucked.
sometimes
But
that's okay
no.
if you kind of if you set the tone earlier and go, listen, I'm going to be a massive asshole. I'm not going to
Yeah,
remember your name.
I appreciate the honesty.
Yeah, and I'm not going to share any of this when you put the effort in to make the article. I'm not going to share it. Like, just go, okay, at least I know where it stands.
Yeah, like, build
But
a
dude, I'll
establishment.
tell you a little bit of advice again for you or for anyone who might be listening to this. What works for me as someone who does the kind of more publication side. I mean,
Mm,
something is simple. It's a very simple technique, but it works. Being like, hey, the reason I'm reaching out to you is because I read this interview you did with this act, or listened to this podcast episode you
yeah.
did with this act, and I liked it. So that's why, like, that always kind of works because you're like, okay, I know you're familiar with my material, and you're kind of actually taking the time out to reach out to me on a personal level. So I think
Yeah.
that even that something simple as that works, where you're like, I like this review you did, or I like this podcast you did, or just make it. You don't actually have to listen to it. You can just be like, you could just look at like recent
Just be
episodes and be like,
aware of
oh
it.
yeah, I like that episode. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's talk about your new single and Favorite Crusade. As I kind of mentioned, this is like the first single from the band in a year. You kind of alluded to earlier that there's going to be more kind of consistent release throughout this year. What's that? What's the time gap? Just kind of a matter of like personnel rearrangements and things like that.
Well, Sam, our first drummer, Samuel Lyson, who I'll shout out as well. Great drummer, great musician. Um, he wanted to pursue his own solo projects, not solo, but his own project afterwards. So we were looking for a drummer for a while, and then we had some gigs over the summer, and it was well, we had to get personnel changes in bands are always they always throw spanners in, and I had this idea that we shouldn't be gigging in Dublin all the time, so we were getting gigs in Galway, Dundalk, Drogheda, and we had one more in Dublin, I think. And those gigs were arduous, let's say. I mean, because I had a full time. So at the time, I had a full time job. I was working in an office, and it was quite a stressful job because it was a small office and it was quite busy all the time. And it wasn't like I couldn't go in and listen to music all day, that kind of thing. So we organized those gigs, and I was kind of burned out after doing that, organizing everything, social media, etc. And then I think I went away then for a week or so, and then Christmas coming up, and I just kind of things fell by the wayside as it happens. So I decided to get more singles done before doing any more gigs. So we recorded them in I won't say how many singles, surprise, but multiple, more than one. And we got them done with our engineer, not our engineer, an engineer, Anthony Gibney, who I'm also going to shout out, an audio lab student in Leipzig. Pleasure to work with, great engineer. And so we recorded them in end of November, start of December. Then obviously Christmas time, and then in January I went away again for 3 weeks. So and there was tweaks and loads. You know how it is with mixes and mastering. Everyone's got opinions. Everyone's throwing stuff. We went in
Yeah.
again to go over the mixes and stuff. So it was finally done. And honestly, I got the finished master for this song was it 3 weeks ago, I think. 3 to 4 weeks ago, we got it in. And then I had it announced, like I got it in DistroKid like that very day. Just so it's kind of a rush. This single. So there was stuff happening over that year, but there was like there's only so much you can do with one single. Because anyone can put out one single. But if you're putting out two, three, four, five, six, like that's when people know, oh, these guys are a band. And it goes back to what we said earlier, where people aren't committing to bands that they don't know. They want to hear you on Spotify before they see you at a gig. They don't want to spend €10 to walk in and maybe it's good.
Mhm.
So people need to see more before they can commit. And especially with social media, because they don't want to see the same damn song every post, every TikTok, whatever. So there's a year, I mean, it was a year gap, but it was really like single came out, we gigged until September. Then there was a gap of maybe 2 months, and then we were in the studio again, So it was never really, there was never a massive hiatus. It just worked out to be a year. It was funny. It's funny that it was almost exactly a year since the last one. But yeah, so that's how that worked out anyway.
When it comes to actually, you kind of glossed over it. I'd like to maybe focus on a little bit. You're talking about doing gigs out of county. I mean, how did you find that kind of experience? I mean, just in terms of everything, like, were you dealing with promoters, or were you kind of just like dealing with the venues directly? I mean, I know for a lot of acts, it's kind of difficult to go out of county because like you're like, well, there's so much travel and expenditure and even like accommodation and things like that, and then would people actually turn up? Were you doing like support slots or were you doing headlining slots?
So, so the three ones we did was so we had four. It was going to be four, but then we didn't. Mel couldn't do one of them, so that was meant to be Sting for Me in Cavan. That was one we couldn't do, and then we did the Old 55 in Galway. Now that was through a promoter, which I we know Martine the Moons.
Oh yeah, yeah, I've
West
interviewed them.
Falls. Yeah, yeah, you've done it
You're
before. Yeah,
wearing their
Sarah.
t-shirt.
Yeah, yeah, I am wearing a t-shirt. Yes, represents the girls. So they recommended a promoter in Galway, Connor Green, who set us up in the old 55 in Galway, which is a tiny pub. It is tiny, but it was good. It was good. It was a good gig, and it was horrendous getting back. I didn't get home. I think I got home at 4 a.m. and then I had work the next
Oh, you
day with
didn't
the
stay there,
office
you just
job.
came directly back.
Oh
Oh,
yeah, it just
fair.
came straight back. Like just accommodation. It's money wise, It's
Yeah,
like you
yeah,
said,
sure, no,
accommodation is
absolutely.
expensive. Yeah, like we went there and we paid for the bus there and back, and we paid for food and drink. That was kind of that's as cheap as you could get it. And then we had Dundalk Tolls in Dundalk, and we messaged the venue because they do like a rock night, so it's like the Fibbers Thursday sessions kind of thing. And so that was fun. I got a lift from my girlfriend gave me a lift up, so that was fine. And we came back that night. So again, we were saving money that way. And then in the last one, Drogheda in September, it was actually so I run a little side promotional page, do some gigs with like I haven't done anything with that in ages, but it's more at the time. Just we're booking our own gig. So we booked a gig in McHugh's, the Watchtower in
Yeah.
Drogheda. Great spot, and we had some good bands there. We had Raw Cuts there from they're from Greystones and Wicklow around there, and then we had some local guys in Drogheda, and so we booked that because it was free. It was kind of like an on-show situation. It was a great spot though. That's actually what made me think we could do on show because there was no engineer or anything. We all were kind of the engineer. And we were all just kind of setting up. Yeah,
Yeah, I've
real
seen bands
DIY
that
kind
on
of stuff.
shot like fuck with the PA like mid song and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
it's like actually
Yeah.
engineer. Oh, I'm the engineer. Fuck. I do this. But that was quite fun. And then after that, we were meant to do Blessings Bar and we couldn't. With the Sing for Me fest. And then we had one gig in Fibbers with Skyrocket, Mikey's
Mhm.
Skyrocket. And I liked those gigs out of county, but if I was doing them again, I mean, I'm not in that office job anymore. so it would be easier now. That's why I'm speaking to you at 2 o'clock on a Friday afternoon. I have nothing else to do. But
Thanks. No, I'm joking.
but it would be easier now. But if I was going to do that again, maybe I Dunleary, maybe,
Yeah.
like I don't think I'd go to Galway. It depends. Obviously, it depends. Never say never. But I'd be looking more towards
I just want to say
Galway.
Delirious still in county.
Well, Dublin City, let's say, okay,
Sure,
Dublin
okay,
City,
yeah.
Lighthouse, great, good venue down there, or Dunleary or
Yeah.
Bray,
Would you
or
book
yeah.
the upstairs in Lighthouse or would you do like downstairs? I know the
It
downstairs
is,
they do
yes.
shows, but I think that's like more covers. I don't know. I haven't been there since I used to go to
Yeah,
college
right.
in Dunleary.
All right. Is the stage upstairs the big stage, the bigger stage? And then you have the
They
pool
have like
table at the back. Is that upstairs?
yes, so they have like the
Yeah,
convent.
yeah,
I
yeah.
don't know if they do gigs there. I was actually at someone's birthday party there once, but I
Oh,
went
nice.
to. I knew someone who was doing a gig downstairs, and but I think it was like kind of covers for like people who were just in the bar kind of thing.
Right. Oh, yeah, like acoustic guitar kind of.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So yeah, no, we booked the upstairs there. I mean, I've been trying to get that organized. But I mean, that's how far outside of Dublin I go at this point. Because like, yeah, Galway was just a massive. It's such a trek. Like getting back is a nightmare at that time of night. Like, and we
Yeah.
can't, accommodation is expensive, as you said. So yeah, that was our out of county experience, doing
Do
some
you think
gigs. And it was fun. It's
do you
nice
think
to.
if the public transport was like more like if you could get like the dart at say like 1 in the morning, that would probably you could probably play like Greystones more or Bray more. I think
Oh
like
yeah.
reliance on public transport is a big fucking thing. You were mentioning like your girlfriend giving you a lift and stuff like that. It pays to know people with a driver's license, I guess.
Oh my God, I've been working on that for years.
No, I'm the same dude. I
Awesome.
fucking rely too much on public transport, and then you do have to do something, and it's like, well, it's midnight. I guess I'm not going home.
Yeah, like I usually cycle actually into
Oh,
town
good.
now. Even when I'm going for drinks, I'd usually cycle
Yeah,
five
with like a
minutes. Like,
big amp and fucking guitar and shit in your
oh
back.
no, not for gigs now. For
Yeah,
gigs,
yeah,
gigs are a nightmare. But
yeah.
just for pints or whatever, I'll be cycling.
Sure.
But yeah, I mean, look, I'm not gonna be. I'm gonna drop a truth bomb for you. Public transport in Ireland isn't that good, and so all your readers and listeners gasp.
And the
But
sad thing is, we have probably the best in the country in Dublin, and even then, it's not that
I
good.
know people can't believe that.
I know. It's like I
Although no,
remember.
Cork Lewis.
Oh yeah, yeah, Cork and Lewis, yeah, but probably
Right,
just
Cork
like the same
Lewis.
running
Yeah.
hours too. It'd be like, oh yeah. I think Cork is a bit
Yeah.
more walkable from the city
Oh,
to
it's
like the
small.
surrounding suburbs and stuff like that. I don't know. I
Yeah,
could be wrong. I could just
it
be.
is. Yeah, it is quite walkable. Although I remember getting lost there because late at night because they've got the two rivers obviously, and I
Mhm.
got lost. I got mixed up between the two rivers.
Google
But
Maps will save your life.
I think my phone must have been dead. I can't remember why I didn't check my phone. It was dead.
No, because
Let's say it was dead. Okay, better
yeah, if
story.
like I don't know how people used to travel to cities they're unfamiliar with before Google
Oh
Maps,
my
even like small,
God.
like it's in Limerick, and it's a pretty small city. It's actually very similar to Dunleary. That's my opinion, and it just has very
Here
similar
it is
layout.
first. Limerick is the
Yeah,
Dunleary of
I kind of think
Munster.
I just think there's parallels between the two places, but even then, it's like it's a relatively small city, but it's like Jesus, if I didn't have Google Maps, I'd be completely fucked.
Oh
Just
yeah,
trying to
that's
get
why
around
you big
places.
paper
Yeah.
map like mental.
Yeah, I don't know how people
Speak
like
it.
with touring back, especially I don't know if you've ever been to London, but London's a
Yeah.
fucking labyrinth. It's a labyrinth. I don't know
Oh,
how
it's
people got
crazy.
around there. Yeah,
No, like Jesus, it'd swallow you up like.
yeah. I don't know how people travel. I guess they'd use the tube system because they have a good map system, so you can kind of get an
That's
idea. But
right.
even then, yeah. Listen, I won't take up too much more of your time. Let's talk about
Yeah.
the single then. So it was released recently, and because I'm trying to future-proof this article a bit for next week, but it was released recently, let's say, yeah, and I think like when I was listening to it, it kind of continues that similar kind of introspective kind of stream of consciousness that we heard on Eden Key. Did I say the name of the song? It's Favorite Crusade. And yeah, I was wondering maybe you could tell us a bit about what it's about. I mean, I kind of got um, themes of romance, but I don't know if that's necessarily your intent.
So I wrote it. I mean, it was in the press release essentially, but for the readers at home.
I don't read
I
them.
wrote it during.
I like to have my own interpretation and then just get it completely wrong.
It's like, no, how dare
Yeah,
you?
I don't
Um,
read.
no. What? I just
I
did
just
the
write.
podcast.
Yeah.
Yes. So I wrote it. It was like when Eden Key we probably wrote around 2018, I want to say,
Hmm.
and Favorite Crusade will probably be around 2019. So they were both around a similar time. They're both from a similar vibe. I don't know if you can tell, but they're both kind of royal blood, kind of Queens of the Stone Agey kind of stuff going on. And I guess it is a love because I was isolating with my missus at the time, and it was about I hate her. No, it was my frustration. But it's kind of like we were kind of in a situation like because I never lived with. It was the first time I'd lived with someone. Well, I always lived my own. We were flatmates before then, so we were in that situation living together, and it was very nice. But then also we were isolating and quarantining, and we couldn't do anything and whatever. So it's kind of like there's kind of that frustration there. It's like romantic, but there's an undercurrent of frustration
Yeah.
and like an undercurrent of obsession because like I love history and I just try to put as many historical references as possible into it. Because I wanted it to be kind of negative in a way, or kind of like an obsession that'll destroy the person or whoever, like the Crusades, which were an obsession that destroyed a lot of people, a lot of
Hmm.
lives.
Hey man, they're
And
just getting their territory back. I won't have this
yeah,
crusade
man,
slander.
the whole city of Jerusalem, what? But
Thankfully
endorsed by
that
King Cara.
all the
King Cara
conflicts about
endorsed the next.
thankfully
Yeah, King Cara
all the
endorsed it.
conflicts about Jerusalem are now behind us. There's never any.
Yeah, King Cara
Oh
endorses
boy,
the next eighth crusade for the Holy
that's the
City.
pull
But
quote.
yeah, that's top of the fucking article. Print that. Um,
No,
but yeah, right this minute.
that's the entire article. Sorry, go ahead.
That's it. Delete. Oh, I can leave now. But it was you can see it in the lyrics, like it's like when you knock on the door, my shame hits the floor, kind of thing. Like you're the God, you're the what a flaming bird in the trees. I hope to cure my disease. Like that's not a good thing. That doesn't sound very pleasant. It's a she's on fire,
That's a matter of
and
perspective.
it's all a matter of perspective, I guess. And it's also from that place where I had a lot of failed. I'm not going to say relationship. I'm going to say failed almost relationships or crushes or whatever, as we all do. So it was kind of from that place, like I'm drifting, swallowed by my optimism. I've got that feeling again, you know. And it's like greener sides are calling when pushed and I'm falling. Every side looks greener. So there is that kind of thing where this isn't a good thing. This isn't a great thing. So it's kind of I don't want to say it's like a pastiche of a romantic song because there is a bit of romance in it. It's just heartfelt and also kind of like a bit of satire, a bit of like obsessiveness, a bit of like negativity in it as well. It was so that's kind of where the lyrics are coming from, and the rest of it is it's like a nice riff. I like the riff. It's built around the riff, quite riffy, if you notice. And sound wise, I wanted that royal because I definitely put well Queens of Stone Age will be my main influence as a songwriter. Like I love Josh Homme and the
Yeah.
boys. Shout out Josh Homme and the boys if they're reading this. Not a bad word to say about them.
Hopefully, you get that sports slot at their Imma gig this summer.
Oh yeah, come in. Absolutely. I mean I
Yeah.
bought a ticket, but I can sell it. It's fine.
Yeah. Yeah.
If I don't need
I
to I'll
have a
give it
ticket
to
for that too. I
someone.
might see you there. I'm going
Oh
to that.
great, yeah. Maybe they'll shout
Queens
out
and
Caroline.
Amo. Yeah.
They'll shout both of us out. Oh, you guys did a really nice interview.
Did you see them at the Tree Arena show?
Oh, of course, yeah.
Yeah, because I
What a
remember
good.
he did that interview with what's that kid? He does really good interviews. I can't think of his
Oh
name.
yeah, the 12-year-old
But he
skater.
shouted him out. So yeah,
Yeah,
next time. I
that
don't know.
was
I'll
fun.
get it'd be for like Totally Dublin or something. I would do that because I'm interviewing some interesting acts for that. But yeah, it definitely won't be for my own publication. I, I would have some fucking balls to email Queens of Stone HPR and be like, "Hey, could they do an
Here,
interview?"
listen, they'll be over Zoom. They'll be fine.
Yeah,
They
it'd
don't
be
need to
grand,
leave
yeah.
their hotel rooms.
I don't even know why I'd ask Josh. I'm be like, "So Caius, they're pretty good, yeah,
Yeah, when are they coming back? Get
yeah."
those other guys. Did you see it? Were you at the Serena gig?
I was, yeah, it was so
Oh
good.
yeah, well you saw it. People, he had that sign. People were like, "Play Caius," and he was like, "No,
Yes.
like, fuck off. I'm not doing that."
You also get a good shout out to oh fuck, why can't I think of the guy's name now? Sorry, I'm coming
Oh,
off a bit
Mark
of a
Lanigan.
nasal infection. Yes. No, no, not only him, but oh, the dude from the Pogues who passed away recently. I can't think of
Oh,
his name.
Shane again.
Yes.
That's
God,
it. Oh yeah.
I'm gonna blame everything. I had a recent sinus infection, so I'm just blaming my memory loss on that.
Oh, complete brain fart. Like,
Yes, yes. So anything I can't remember, just on that.
yeah.
But no, it's interesting what you're talking about with the song. May I suggest, though, it was perhaps written a little later because you said 2019, but the pandemic wasn't until 2020. So,
What's that already in 2019? Oh, what do you mean
no,
2020 then?
2020. You know, for a historian, you can't remember your own lived history
No,
very
man.
well.
I
That's
can't
why
remember my
that's
own
you're like
story.
I was really good at history, but I couldn't remember dates.
That's very on the nose. Actually, yeah, I am bad at
Okay, yeah.
things.
No, I was
I'm
the
bad at
same
numbers.
dude.
I'm bad at maths. A D in
Yeah.
fast maths, baby. You know,
Oh,
that
nice.
should have been.
Um,
So,
Dude, one final thing I want to ask, and I'll let you go on your day is, you were talking about like doing gigs and recording stuff like that. As we mentioned, it's every other member in the band is like has other projects going on. So how do you kind of like pragmatically kind of make that work in terms of like, here's where we dedicate to King Cara, for gigs, for recording, for everything. And when it comes to the songwriting, actually, are you the primary songwriter? You bring it in, and then the other lads kind of just build on the base that you kind of establish, or how does that work?
so I was always the primary songwriter, um, and usually I'd bring stuff in to the boys. I don't think we're hitting the point yet where like people we all get together in a room and fucking make magic. It's like that's not. I don't think we're at that point yet. And personally, for me, it's actually quite hard for me to be creative. Like for a while, actually, I had a very large mental block. Like these two songs are from years ago, and the next couple of songs they have coming out are mostly, although we've tweaked with them over the years, we tweaked all of them over the years, but they're all mostly from years ago. And I mean, look, I don't, like, I live with the missus, so I'm splitting rent, but obviously, like, I don't work a full-time job anymore, so I need to do lots of hustles and lots of stuff like that. And that kind of takes up a lot of time. So it's interesting you ask that because right now I am struggling of how to
Mm,
balance everything because it's not even like finding time. It's about finding space in my brain to allow for creativity as opposed to thinking about when the next job is
sure.
or how much money do I need to do X, Y, Z, fucking A to B, that kind of thing.
Yeah. And all the
So
contracts and shit that are around now, like even if you can get a good job, like that fits you, it's just like I understand the struggle of just being like, applying for places and just fucking getting rejections and all this shit. Just like but even like then, even if you get a job, my the thing I always said is never apply for somewhere you want to work because either you'll get rejected and resent the place, or you'll get the job and then you'll gradually resent the place. I'm just a cynic, I'm
yeah, it's
sorry.
good. Yeah, no, it's very true. It's very true. I mean, I'm not even looking for full time work now. I'm trying to make multiple part time work happen. So I work
Yeah.
that old office I used to work in. I do part time work for them, and I do extras work, like movie extras kind of stuff.
Hmm.
And then I do guided tours of Dublin for international students. And is there anything else? I tried to get into bar gigs, but I wasn't very successful. They're hard to get into bar gigs in
Yeah.
Dublin. Yeah, it's
Yeah, I think
you really need to be at like
there's a lot of opportunities there. Well, actually, I know do you ever do like what do you call it? The agency staff for bar.
the agency bar.
Yeah,
Or
so like a lot of bars will take on agency staff. So if you can get in with the agencies, it's kind of like that's I don't know, especially like theaters and stuff. They like hire agents and stuff. You know the Detroit Arena, everyone who works there are like agency staff. I can say that from
oh, really?
experience. Yeah, everyone who works at the bars there are all agents. So I don't know, maybe that'd be something to look into. It.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, I like keeping the nights free for gigs, all the gigs we
Sure.
have.
Yeah, that's the other thing. Yeah, because
Depends
like
on
bar
gigs.
staff is such like a nocturnal occupation.
Yeah, yeah, oh, definitely. And
Unless we could
yeah, I
just
did
do like matinee shows.
maybe like, can you just keep me on for these guys, please? I actually applied for the Tree Ring a few months ago, and I don't think they got back to me. They were taking on
Yeah.
staff.
Oh,
But
I would have swore they like cause I don't know like all the security, the merch, and I thought the bar staff were all agency there. I don't know, but yeah, agency it's such a shit thing because it's zero-hour contract work, so it's not ideal if you're
it's
actually
not
trying to make a
ideal.
living. No,
But you
it's
just
not
gotta
ideal.
hustle.
Gotta hustle. Yeah, gotta
You
kiss a
literally
lot of
gotta
ass to the managerial staff so that they keep booking you.
so much. Like I've been on set. I did on set work 3 days. This like yesterday I was working. Well, I think I was. I mean, the crew on these sets are insane. Like they do this every single day. I did one day of this week. I was up at 10 to 5 a.m. I think we got home at 7 o'clock, maybe
Yeah,
7:30 to 8. Like it's mental work.
that's
Like
actually
just fighting
considerably
it.
early.
It's
It's
actually
it, it
quite.
it's really not uncommon to work like 20-hour days and shit when you're doing like film. It's insane.
Oh no, it's mental. And actually, because Mrs. actually works in film and TV, and she's a psychopath because she somehow can do it, and she does it very well, and she also functions as a normal human being. So there's
Best of
some
both
people can do
worlds.
it, but oh my god, that's about worlds. But you won't catch me doing that now. But like even that kind of work is great because it's in the creative space, and that's how I'm going to try and get into that headspace because you need to work. You can't work in an office and do this. I mean, I don't think so. I mean, I know, Skinner.
Yeah, yeah, Aaron Corkin, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, I think I read somewhere he works in an office before and he had to quit to
Yeah.
pursue the music.
I
And
interviewed him
not
for the
even
Ghoul
working
and he was saying that like yeah, he did nocturnal work and it just totally fucked up his brain.
oh yeah, like you can't even,
Mm.
you get home and you pick up the guitar and it's like, how do I do this? What do I do here? I don't like this, I don't like that. Like
Then the
it's like,
neighbors are like knocking and they're like, "Hello, it's
oh,
3 in the morning."
fuck off. Jesus Christ. Like you
Actually, do
need to
you
get
think
headphones to the
this is
amp.
something I'm interested in? Do you think the hours you put into the creative thing, whether that's like the wee mornings or whether that's you start writing at like 2 o'clock in the evening or whatever, do you think that kind of influences your output in the sense just the times you actually dedicate to the craft?
Like how do you mean influence my output? Like influence how much I do or how
I
much
think
I.
the no, I think the hours you have different thought patterns at different times of the day, I think.
Right. Okay. Uh, yeah. Yeah. Actually, maybe. I don't know. I mean, I had some bursts of inspiration recently, and where was I? Maybe I was here. I mean, I was actually in the park writing. That was the last time I kind of dedicated. I was like out of the house to. It was sunny.
Yeah.
Remember the week of sun we had? That was
Yes, yes. How could you
never to
forget?
be seen again. I went to the park there trying to write, and it's a song. It was actually a song about. It's about like again meeting people in bars or whatever. Fuck, meeting the guy from work when smoking area is actually pretty much the topic of the song. But I was trying to write it in the park, in the sun, and there were little dogs running around. Dublin mountains look fantastic, And I was like, I can't fucking do this. So that's an interesting thought. Maybe I do need to lock myself into a black room and just maybe I need to go to work right now, okay, and sit in the smoking area and just be fucking fuckload of rollies and be like, gosh, amazing. Like, it's
No,
like
but I think
Heath
I think a lot
Ledger's
of times when you
Joker.
when you kind of go, I'm going to be creative, that's when you're not. But I don't know, it's a weird thing because like I think sometimes deadlines and being like, I need to finish this fucking thing before we go into the studio on this day can be conducive to creativity. But I also think sometimes being like, I need to actually come up with ideas, that's when you draw a blank. I think a lot of times just like taking a bit of a detox from creativity and just being like, I'm going to do whatever. I'm going to go for a walk like Treat and Key, or I'm going to see a film or some shit. Like just like
Yeah,
that's when shit actually starts coming naturally. At least in
like,
my opinion, I don't like everyone's different.
well, Jacob Collier in Wonder Horse. That's
Mm.
his
Yeah,
JPJ. Yeah,
a
he.
lot of people
I
shouting
think
him out lately.
I'm not. No,
Okay, okay.
he has enough people shouting about it, okay? No, shout out Jacob Collier. But he and the folks at home. He before he started Wonder House, I think he went down to Brighton or Cornwall or somewhere like on the beach, and I think he was there for a few weeks or a month or something, just clearing his head completely. And then he went up and started Wonder Horse. Don't quote me on that, but I think that's what happened.
Okay, I won't quote you on
So
it.
don't just delete that bit of the interview
I'll
completely.
keep the part about the being empathetic to the Crusades, but that's it.
Yeah, that's what we want. That's what the people want. They want my thoughts on medieval Christian
Yeah.
crusades. Amazing.
Well, when are King Cara going to play Jerusalem? That's the thing. That's the thing that's in everyone's mind.
Not right now.
No, give it a few
Not
months.
right now. I know when we're not going to play it. Right now.
Imagine having to like book an agent over there. It's like we're from Ireland. They're like, oh, we're actually booked out at the moment.
Oh no! Fuck off.
Yeah.
Look, they love us in Tel Aviv. Like we're
Yeah,
just.
yeah.
They love us all over there. God,
Yeah, I mean,
let's
like
all go to.
people, look, Israel are getting a lot of criticisms right now. One thing you can't criticize is their art scene.
It's fine. No, it worked for kneecap.
Yeah,
It's actually some. It's something I was speaking to someone in the press or whatever during BIM, and they were saying what they'd like to see in Irish music scene. They're like, everyone's so damn nice. They want to
yeah.
see some beef. They want to see some negativity. And like it just that kneecap thing got me thinking, it's like, yeah, just like
We all need to
yeah,
get into a
just
scrap with Sharon Osbourne.
yeah,
She
we
needs
don't need
to,
to scrap, like get some
yeah, she all
scrapping
needs
going.
to invoke her
Yeah,
visas. Now, do you think it'd be
yeah.
ethical
Get a scrap going.
if you got over there? Do you think it would be ethical to put a King Cara sticker on the wall? You know the wall I'm talking about.
Oh, the sacred wall.
No, I was talking
Would
about
it
the
be
wall that
ethical?
divides the West Bank, but yes, the sacred wall
Oh,
too.
sorry, that wall.
There's too many
Would
walls
it
in
be? It
Israel,
depends
man.
what side it's on.
Okay.
Maybe. I don't know. Like
I don't know
there
where this
won't be
conversation went. Like, yeah, put the
Jesus,
King
yeah.
Cara sticker for like a
Oh,
QR code.
let's talk about the music. Nah,
Yeah, let's talk about the music.
no one
Um,
cares about the music.
well, just as I was saying to you earlier, I mean, for the other members in the band, I mean, how have you find kind of wrangling them up? You mentioned earlier, like Mel couldn't do a particular show due to availability, but they obviously have other projects and they work too. So, I mean, how has that kind of been in terms of like how far in advance do you have to kind of plan things?
Um, well, we haven't planned. I mean, so Mel's in college. I hope you won't mind me talking about him. He's in college. He's doing exams.
We're not shit
That's
talking him.
we're not shit talking. Fucker. He's gonna fail,
He's
obviously.
in college.
No, he's doing a real degree, and
Okay.
it's very intensive. So he's kind of it's been hard to get a hold of him. Not it has. Sorry, I'm talking shit. It hasn't been hard, but if we were planning anything, it would have to be well in advance. And Owen from Reigning fame, he works nights in Westmeath, and he has to get the bus back to Westmeath. And then Ignis is in Dublin, but it's in City West. So I'm the only one in town. I'm only
That's
an
on the
hour.
Lewis line. It's fine. He has no
Uh,
excuse.
and like even for our when we were recording, like Anthony, uh, the engineer, he is in Leak Slip, so we're just all over the place,
That speaks for
going all
itself.
over
He's in league
the
slip.
yeah. But like, and we would
He
have a
has it
plan
worse
thing
than every.
for yeah. We would though. It's how hard is it to wrangle the band? It's not amazing hard because everyone's very dedicated and everyone's committed. So there isn't a lot of like, if at all, there's not a lot of bullshit messing around. It's just a question of sorting everyone's schedules out as there are working college. And the fact that I'm no longer in that job means I can plan my stuff better, which has made it easier. But that only happened 2 or 3 months ago, so we're still in that formative stage, and I think we're still in a formative stage right now because this is like these singles are like the old music. It's like the last, not the last gasp of the old music, but it's kind of the original song. Like if people, no, we have people who we listen to, we've been going to gigs of ours for years, like, and this is like the songs that they don't know and
Yeah.
recognize. And we're at a point where we need to write more songs. As damn, like for fuck's sake. So we're in like a formative stage with that. I mean, I hope we are where we can kind of get together properly because we haven't, because obviously this is like a year old lineup, so we can kind of get together and do that.
Yeah.
So plans wise, I don't see us doing a massive amount of gigs in the future until the next one comes out. Maybe, never say never. If we're
Which
offered,
which
if
gives
if John
incentive for people
wants
to
us,
go to the Anseo gig, by the way.
exactly, because you might never see us again. We might just break up. Like why are you going to
It
take
might
that
be your
chance?
Beatles on the Apple roof
Yeah,
gig.
literally. Like, I mean, it's only a fiver as well. Like, people, come on, guys.
Quick, what
Fiver.
year was that? What year was that? When did the Beatles do the last gig?
Oh, fuck off. 1972, was it? No. Was it
69.
69?
Yeah.
69. There you go.
Yeah.
I was close enough.
It's a
It's
hard
mental.
number
They
to
only got
remember.
together in 60. Was it 62 or 63?
I always think of them as a band. Technically, I think they existed from 1960 to 70, but I always just think of them as a band from the 60s. But they still released, I think Let It Be was in 1970. So, yeah.
That's right. Yeah, that was the last
So,
gig. Imagine they had an album
technically,
out, they never gigged. Like, it was crazy.
well, they stopped gigging, I think, like in around 64, because, and they just focus on the record. That's why they have such a vast discography. They just stopped gigging because the gigs got just too hectic. And they're just like, ah, fuck it.
Mental.
Let's go
I
to
never,
India and do
yeah.
ayahuasca and shit.
But like, I mean, not that I hate recording, but I don't particularly enjoy. If all I did was record stuff, I'd go
Yeah.
crazy. Like, Jesus, just playing in front of people, it's the best. And that's literally what got me into music. Just playing with other people in front of other people. It's just the best feeling in the world. Like, it's amazing.
Yeah. And what year did
Yeah,
John Lennon get shot?
fuck off. I don't know.
1980.
70s, 80. Okay,
Yeah, he got a,
let's say
he got
82 actually,
yeah,
but
he
80.
got to see
It was
Reagan
Reagan.
in the presidency.
Yeah. Okay, that's right. Okay,
Yeah.
by forget his name. I don't know. I was always trying to
Oh,
watch.
John. His first name is John. John. He had like
John
a double
Wilson.
barrel surname, John Hinckley Jr. or something, maybe. I don't know.
Was that Reagan? No, that was
Uh,
Jodie Foster.
no.
Was
Oh,
that?
yes, you're right. Now I'm the one slipping up on
There
history.
you go.
Yeah.
For
If
your own
if we
petard,
combine both our minds, we'd have this sum of all of history. But alas,
you'd be
yeah.
a genius. I'm actually more. I'm more. I was always more into like the old history. Like like modern history never really
See,
did
I
it
was the
for me.
exact opposite. I love 20th
Really
century
got that stuff.
history because I remember for the
Okay.
leaving cycle, you did 20th century history, and I loved that. And because I found like the older dates to be so distant, they were kind of abstract, so I could never really compartmentalize. But when you're like
I
Hitler
love.
was only alive at the same time as your grandparents, I'm like, that's fucking interesting.
Yeah, our grandparents were they ever in the same room together? That's the
Mhm.
question.
Yeah.
There you
Well,
go.
maybe they were. Maybe I don't know. Actually, maybe they were.
Maybe. Who knows? It's a mystery. Yeah. Find out.
Perfect.
Put that on the record.
And what year was the Easter Rising in 1916?
Oh, it was like 1921, wasn't it?
Something like that,
God,
I think.
was
I
that,
actually don't know
I
off the top
know
of my head. But something like
it's,
that.
it's a mystery. They'll never know. Historians have long pondered it. But what are those mysterious numbers in the name? Who knows?
Maybe that was just like, like the festival lineup for that year. It's like Easter 1916, it just sounded cool. They were like, yeah, we called it the 1927
Fucking
Constitution. It's like, but it's 1938. It's like, shh, it's cool. It just sounds better,
yeah, 38.
Yeah.
Who cares? It's a legend. Quote John.
Um, well, thanks very much for
Some
your
of that.
time, Jimmy, man. It's been
Yeah, of
really nice
course.
chatting with you. Is there anything you'd like to add before wrap up? Is there anything we didn't cover people should know when?
Um,
You can plug the gig again, by the way.
we can plug the gig again. Gigs on the 1st of May. Fiver in. I think I think Dublin has such a booming scene right now, and people should be going to it. There's so many good bands. I'd like to shout out some bands actually. I'm going to shout out
Go
Joe
for it.
Maxey, who's joining us next week. I'm going to shout out Martina and the Moons. I'm going to shout out Skull de Pierre, who's an absolute
Yep.
gent and has been one of the hardest working people I know in this business. And he
I
should
have to
be.
apologize to him, by the way. He invited me to a gig one time, and I said I'd go, and then I just missed the date. I was like, "When is that?" And it was like the week prior. It's like, "Oh fuck!" So I felt
Our
terrible about
numbers
that.
are hard.
I
Who dates are
know.
hard. Oh, Pierre, great friend. Um, for other non-local, well, more local. Well, I wouldn't know personally. Well, I know Lads and Nerves, obviously. I don't know Skinner, but he's fantastic. I started listening to him in COVID, actually, in those lockdown stuff he put out. That was great. And I'm going to shout out a band that isn't around anymore, actually. Tongue in Cheek, where that was my mate's band, and they're cracking. They're broken up since, but they're very good.
Haven't heard them
And
actually.
yeah, no, they're great. They've got some great singles out, and their gigs were class. And one more who I think might be broken up, Staff Party from Cork. They've got one
Hmm.
song on Spotify, and they haven't done anything in ages, but they're class. If they're reading this, they're class, and they should do something at some point. Anyway,
You gotta go to Cork, man. They have a great scene there. It's
oh, I've been on the Fred Zeppelins, but it's
oh yeah.
Benny. I think it's Benny. Oh, there was something in the email they sent me. I was like, oh, maybe next time or something like.
Yeah,
So I'd love to go
Fred's
down
is
there.
fucking amazing.
Oh yeah, definitely. I'd love to.
It's
And
their drop dead twice, I'd say. It's Cork City's drop dead twice. Except it's open.
every city's dropped that twice. We'll agree.
what would
Chasing
you
that
say
high.
the old 55, what would you say the equivalent to a Dublin venue would be? You can't say drop dead twice. No, I'm joking.
I'm not gonna say it's. I'd say Shinee.
Okay.
It's about smaller than Shinee, but it's kind of. I mean, Shinee's way more expensive. It could be actually on show as Shinee just because it just reminds you of Shinee because you have to go down the back past the bar to get to where the place is and everyone's sitting down like in Shinee.
Yeah.
So that's why it reminds me of Shinee, but it is a lot cheaper.
Yeah, that's the thing, man. I think Sinead, I love that venue, but they gotta get rid of those seats at the front. You gotta make that a
Yeah.
dancing area. Because even people who are trying to get up, it's just like, what? Sorry.
Oh, I saw Joe Maxey there once, and it was mental. People were trying to mosh among the seats, and it was like. Although I was at another gig, I played a gig there with King Cara when we first started, and there was a band there called Altered Lines, and they were
Hmm.
like a house band or something. They played there every week, I think. But at one point, the guitarist was like, he was literally like Stevie Ray Vaughan. He had the hat with the feather in it, and he had a double neck SG. And at one point, he jumped off the stage onto the tables and he walked around the tables, around the edge, just shredding away. And it was
Kicking
mental.
people's glasses over.
He actually kicked someone's glass, hit the wall and smashed like Jesus. All right. Well, you know what's good though? You don't see enough of that in gigs. Like people
Yeah.
just smashing the place up like great. In
You don't
Chennai.
see enough double neck guitars either. It's very Led Zeppelin.
You don't. Or feathered hats for that matter.
Yeah. Perfect, man.
Yeah. Anyway.
And just the last thing I'll say, where people can find you at King Cara and all that.
So it's Instagram we're at We Are King Cara
Mhm.
and TikTok is the same. And I could say the other things, but I think it's irrelevant. Like who's on Thread? Like if you want to find threads, go to Instagram. Facebook, yeah, King Cara, why not? YouTube, we're just sticking King Cara. And it's CA or A actually. That's I'm gonna plug that. I've had people say KA or A, but it is CA
Yeah.
or A
King
because
Kira and stuff. Yeah.
King Cara with a KA or A is 1K away from problems.
Yeah, it's like
Oh no.
Krusty's Comedy Classics or something.
Oh yeah.
I love that sketch. I
Yeah.
had a friend
Oh
who was once
God.
responding to it was when I was in college on what do you call it, like the WhatsApp group we're in, and
Mhm.
they're asking for like the details to where like a gaff party was or something, and someone said, oh, they gave the address, and then they were like KKK, and I was like, I just put that clip from The Simpsons.
Yeah.
So yeah, Simpsons clips get you a lot in life. It's crazy that a
Oh
show
my
from 30
God.
years ago is
It's
also
actually
relevant
perfect.
today. There's
Oh,
so
it's
many great
perfect.
scenarios. Perfect,
That
man.
original one. Yeah.
I'll see you at on shop, and capacity there is about
Yeah.
50, isn't it? So get there early.
It's about 50. So look, it should be. we're hoping to get maybe 10 people there. So yeah, it'll be good.
Maybe you'll get
No,
an
everyone
additional
will.
one from this.
It's not 50 people, all right? It's like any amount of people can squeeze in there. If you're brave enough, it can be
Yeah.
any capacity.
Yeah,
So,
just don't invite the fire marshal again. I think that's the lesson we took from this is never bring the fire marshal. And there will be pyrotechnics at the event, and it is upstairs, so
oh yeah,
if the
we're gonna
curtains go
set.
fire,
Well, it's not pyrotechnics. It's just more we're gonna start setting shit in fire.
yeah.
So I wouldn't class. We just have a lighter. That's the part.
Yeah, if anyone has a flamethrower before the gig, like, could you bring it
Yeah,
along?
Molotov cocktails. We're gonna light the roof. We're not.
I
We're
always
never
look
gonna
that
play it
one.
again because no one will play it again.
When people always just like ask for resources, like, does anyone know anyone who, does sound? Does anyone know anyone who does like lighting or anything? It's like, does anyone know anyone with like a flamethrower or like even just like a Lynx can and a lighter would be fine.
A spider.
Some
Get
kind
it.
of aerosol and
Yep.
a lighter would be fine, yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect, man.
Yeah.
And then throughout the year, people can expect more releases and stuff. Do you
They
have
can.
set dates for that? Like general idea?
No.
I'm not asking for it. Okay, so it's just kind of like
We
when it's
will.
out and so.
We will let you know the week before.
Well, that's
So
good
wait,
incentive
we might
to keep up with the
to
social
keep an
medias
eye
if
on
you
it.
want to know.
But we'll have gig. We'll probably have gigs throughout the year,
Yeah,
but we won't be having it. We won't be gigging every week. So if you see a
yeah,
gig coming up, I'd recommend you to go to it. So
perfect.
that's it.
Thanks, man.
Hey, well, all right, Aaron, lovely to talk to you.
You
I'll
too,
see you on
man. Nice
Thursday.
to meet you. See you then.
Hey, well,
Bye.
all right. Good luck.
Thank you for listening to that episode of Post-Burnout.com interviews. We're an independent venture run by yours truly, and as I said at the beginning, liking, rating, subscribing, and sharing really helps us out a lot. If you're feeling extra generous, we do have a PayPal donation link in the episode description, but don't feel obligated, of course. We've also begun releasing occasional exclusive episodes on Spotify, so subscribe there if you'd be interested in hearing those. Thanks again for listening, and see you next time.